Hi, Pisces. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for October of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mikos in Mystic, Connecticut.
Well, Pisces, this month's horoscope focuses on intimacy and partnership with so much planetary activity in your 7th and 8th houses. If you need more guidance about your love life, a lifelong love reading may be what you're looking for. You'll find the link for that in the text that comes with this video. Well, Pisces, I want to start with the full moon happening on October 9th, because October really begins with Moon and Mercury activity and then finishes with a lot of really great relationship vibes. So this moon is in Aries. It's happening in your 2nd house right here with Chiron, opposite to the Sun and Venus here in your 8th house. And we call these houses the axis of finance. The 2nd house, where the moon lands, is a house of things belonging to you, your money, your financial security. And the 8th house is the stuff that you share with others, like the finances that you share with a spouse or a business partner, or things like taxes and insurance. So this moon is going to kick up a bit of a storm in these areas because of the rather explosive Aries moon connecting with Chiron right here in your 2nd house. So you might find yourself feeling angry or impulsive, especially about your own security, your safety, or your money. We're calling this moon arguments that wound, dialogue that heals, because this rather tetchy moon could definitely trigger some arguments, but Venus over here brings the diplomatic vibe and the social graces that can get you out of those arguments. There's also help from Saturn providing some objectivity. So I would say try to avoid getting into arguments about money, especially if you are married or in a business partnership around October 9th. You might want to just hold your tongue, because there's a better time for these kind of deep conversations coming later in the month. But before we get into that, I want to throw the ball over to Julia, who has news about Mercury, Mars, and Venus.
Yes, I do, Pisces. I'll start with the good news, and that's that Mercury is finally going direct on October 2nd, so very early on in the month. It's done a whole retrograde cycle in your 7th house of relationship, partnership, and contractors. So you are, the past few weeks, you've been dealing with miscommunications with your romantic partner. If you're out in the dating world, you've been sort of rethinking some of the connections you've made, the people you've dated, wondering whether you want to go on another date with them. Or if you've hired anybody for advice recently, like a doctor or a lawyer, you might be thinking about having a second opinion, maybe wanting somebody else's advice too at the same time, because maybe theirs didn't sit quite right with you. So having Mercury move forward after October 2nd is going to really help these sort of more squirrely things that have been happening lately really smooth out in your life. Then on October 10th, Mercury goes into your 8th house of other people's money, where you might find yourself very preoccupied about your investments, or it could also have to do with inheritances, your partner's income, or any sort of shared money you have with family. Now, Mercury in the 8th is a wonderful time for being strategic in financial matters. It's also a great transit for researching too, because the 8th house is about plumbing the depths of a matter in your life. Then on October 29th, Mercury is going to go into your 9th house of education and travel, where your mind is going to be on more faraway places. Hopefully you'll have some opportunities to travel, but you could also be planning your next trip. Then Mars is going to be going retrograde at the very end of the month, but all month he's going to be slowing down until October 30, where he technically goes retrograde. And this is going to be happening in your the fourth house of family, home, and it also rules your past. So Mars represents our actions. And during Mars retrograde, sometimes we have to redo some of our actions in our life. Maybe in the fourth house, you've been thinking about moving, maybe you've been thinking about making some improvements on your home, and now you might have to backtrack a little on that stuff. Mars in the fourth can also be a bit of a frustrating time with getting along with your family members, and as well as people that you live with too, which can be recognized by the fourth. And Mars retrograde in the fourth, you might also get upset about something that happened a long time ago, but now you might have the opportunity to redo some action to help correct it. That could be the higher side of this transit too. Then Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationships, starts the month in your 8th house of other people's money. So you're getting a little extra luck when it comes to finances this month with Venus in the 8th. Again, if it's your partner who's getting a little bit of boost to their salary, maybe they're sharing it with you. This is a really wonderful transit for bonding more deeply with your partner, psychologically, financially, sexually too, which is ruled by the 8th house. And then October 22nd is a very important day because Venus will be exactly conjoined the sun. We call that relationship rapture day. And that's a time where relationships can really start to progress. So in a financial house, maybe you guys are progressing in terms of how you sort of merge your finances together. Or maybe you're progressing because you're being more vulnerable psychologically together, and it allows you to feel more intimate. But relationship rapture days are pretty sweet usually. Then on October 23rd, Venus moves into your 9th house of adventure, education, and travel. This is a wonderful time for going back to school, taking a class, doing a workshop, because you're going to find pleasure in anything that broadens your horizons and really sort of expands you in some way. You might really want to be planning some trips ahead as well too with Venus in the 9th. I know Jamie has some more to tell us about relationships this month too.
Yeah. So the sun spends much of the month traveling through Libra and then moves into Scorpio right here on the 23rd, same day that Venus does the same. And here's where those relationship themes can really start to deepen. Because Scorpio it carries that same feel of intimacy and depth as the 8th house does. Now, this lands, though, in your 9th house, and wherever the sun goes, we want to bring the sunlight of our high-quality attention so that things can flourish and grow in that area. This being a house of travel, growth, and expansion, and bringing these relationship themes in here, it sort of suggests a feeling of freedom or liberation that you're experiencing or seeking in your relationship as Venus and the sun move on into the 9th house. Now, there's another really wonderful thing that's happening that may make us feel, I don't know, unleashed, you might say, in our relationships, which is that Juno, which has been traveling along retrograde for quite a few months, since late July, finally goes direct right here on October 23rd. You see the little red RX symbol is gone. And so Juno direct means that the relationship retrospection period that we've been involved in since July can finally find some closure, and we can begin to move on from that process. Now, Juno does this every year, so it's nothing unusual, but the sign that she does it in is different every year. And this year, it's been in Pisces, so you might feel that this is rather personal. You might feel like your identity as a partner is at stake. Your ability to be flexible with your partner and for your partner is at stake. You may feel like you've been stretched a little bit too far, like you've bent yourself into the shape of a pretzel to be with this person. And so looking at that more deeply over the last couple of months has probably resulted in you arriving at a place where you might want to make a decision about your relationship. And when Juno goes direct, you can make that decision and move forward. And now here's where it all comes together. which is the eclipse that happens on October 25th, right here, when the moon travels on into Scorpio, conjuncts the sun in a new moon, which is also a solar eclipse. Now, eclipses are times when we have to look at our shadow. We have to examine the stuff that we don't really look at in the light of day all that much. And when we embrace that instead of running from it, we find that an eclipse can yield some really powerful results. This particular eclipse is loaded with relationship themes, and they're very harmonious themes at that. And so because Juno trines the moon and Venus and the sun all at once, and they're gathered together in Scorpio, for this reason, I think that this moon is actually a better time to have a clearing conversation with your partner so that you can move forward in the relationship, or if you deem it necessary, out of it. Whatever is really for the greater good for both partners, whether they realize it or not. So the first moon I did say was, argumentative, but this moon has so much more of a gentle and loving vibe. We're calling it confessions, acceptance, and healing. And it's a really good time to come to your partner with an open, vulnerable heart, ready to bring all the compassion you can muster in your listening and all the truth that you can in your speaking, and to just bring up whatever it is that's been on your mind that you've been holding back, and ask your partner about whatever they've been holding back, and just absolutely clear the decks, and you might find that something miraculous could happen. Well, that's what we have for you today, Pisces. You can always find your horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscopes tab. And if you want that reading, you can find the readings tab and get into the schedule to see Julia or me. And if you want to know more about this month's moons, check out the forecast tab. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.